Hey everyone, it's Frankie with iThrifties.com. Hey, I'm going to do a real quick review of the Techlast x80hd Chinese tablet. Now, I've had quite a few of these, and this is one that I highly recommend. There's a few Chinese tablets that I've tested that I feel like the build quality is good, the overall feel and look of the device is good, and I recommend them. This is one of those devices, and so I just wanted to do a quick kind of review of the device, show you the main features of it, and then that way you'd have a better understanding of what the device is and be able to make a decision on whether or not it's one for you. So this particular one is, as I mentioned, the x80hd by Techlast, and it's a dual boot device, so it comes pre-installed with KitKat 4.4.4 and Windows 10 Home. When you first turn the tablet on, you're presented with this option of choosing which OS you want to boot into. There is a 10-second timer that counts down. If you touch the screen anywhere, it stops the timer, and then you can take as long as you want to decide. In the top left corner, you can turn the check mark off, which would then allow you to choose which OS you want it to boot up into normally. And from each OS, there is an icon that lets you boot into the other OS, which is a nice feature. So we're going to go ahead and just boot into Android here. While it's booting into Android, I'll just show you the ports and things and talk about its specs. So here on the right of the tablet, you've got the volume up and down and the power on and off. The very top of the tablet, you've got an HDMI mini jack. You've got a micro USB port which charges, and it comes with a dongle that also allows you to plug a full-size USB device into it. It's got a headphone jack, and then over here on the other side you have a micro SD slot to add up to 128 gigs of memory. The back of the device is got a kind of a raised feel to it. It's a nice textured feel. And in the bottom left corner you have the it's actually the bottom right looking from the front. You have the speaker. It does okay. It's not, excellent, but it does get loud enough. And then in the top corner you have a get down here where you can see, you have a 2 megapixel back camera, which is good enough for doing Skype and just basic pictures. Then on the front you have a 0.3 megapixel camera for doing Skype. Really, that's kind of the rundown of the device. Now it should be booted up now. We'll check. Yep. So typical Android unlock screen. It's just got a basic load on it that comes this way from the Chinese factory, and it's nice and smooth. That's the one thing people are concerned about. How does it feel? Does it work like a normal tablet that I'm used to? Yes, this one does. This is one of the ones I recommend, and I've had dozens of these, and they've all been shipped to me in the same condition. Everything's smooth and everything works. We'll just go into the settings and show you what this tablet is directly. So it's Android version 4.4.4. There we can see the KitKat animation. So works just fine. I've installed a couple apps here. Let's go into Chrome. You can see it does fine on most websites. Let's go to one that's a little more intensive because of images and videos and things. CNN.com usually takes a while to load up because of all the stuff they have, so this gives you a good test. It does fine. Works just fine for that as well. If we go inside the folder I set up called Google Tools, you can open up your email. As you can see, it's nice and smooth in Gmail. Also, if you go into the App Store, works just fine. It's nice and smooth. I'll show you that you don't have any problems downloading something. Let's do See how long this takes to download. Not too bad, I guess, for being standard Wi-Fi. A couple other things while this is downloading. Now this does have Bluetooth 4.0, so you can connect a Bluetooth mouse or keyboard or headset to it, or a like a speaker box for better sound, deeper bass and stuff. Let's see, we'll open that up and just see that. Yep, nice and smooth. And of course the screen does rotate with you. All in all, it really runs fine in Android, and pretty much you can do whatever you really need to do in the Android OS. And let's go ahead and move on quickly to Windows. You notice here's the button that lets us boot into Windows. You just got to make sure you click it. One thing to keep in mind is the micro SD slot will take 128 gigs, and it works just fine in Android. Also, the dongle will take, I've got a 256 gig USB thumb drive that I've plugged in here, and it works just fine in Android and in Windows. So, you know, your memory expansion is pretty much limitless. I've even plugged in my 1 terabyte USB hard drive to it, and it worked fine. Alright, so here's our login screen. I'll just go ahead and log in off camera. Alright. Now with Windows, the idea, you know, the minimum memory really for desktops, you know, power computers, laptops, is 4 gigs for Windows 10, but it does run on 2 gigs. This tablet happens to have 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, and it does fine, but the fact that it's just a tablet and it's just a basic tablet, it does all of the things you really need to do in Windows just fine. But if you're going to try to use this as a desktop as well, you'd probably want to get the 10-inch version of this Techlast, or I've got a couple other ones on my iThrifties.com website that I recommend, that I've tested and I know you know, are worth buying. But excuse me. So, you know, if you give the device enough time to boot up without jumping right into it, the switch screens and stuff work just fine. There's no issues with that. And what we want to do here is, you know, do what we did in Android, is just test a couple of things. We'll go ahead and go into Opera. Now, because this is running Windows and we've only got 2 gigs of RAM, I usually don't use Chrome. I love using Chrome, but the problem with Chrome is it's a memory hog, and with 2 gigs I prefer using Opera. It's a fine browser as well. This is Amazon's Prime page here, and it's got a lot of animation and stuff usually, so it's a good test for it. And then Amazon's main website, and see what it does with eBay. Yep, does just fine. Alright, we'll get out of our browser, and I'm going to close that. And if you hold long touch the item, you can close that as well. Alright, so let's just see how it loads up OneNote. A lot of people are starting to use OneNote. I don't, this is just a fresh install. I haven't set anything up on this, so, but it just opens up and runs fine. See what Adobe Reader does. Yep, I don't have anything downloaded, so it opens up and does fine. We'll go into settings. I'll show you the specs on it here. So let's go to about. So it shows that it's got Windows 10 Home. It's the Intel Atom Z3735F running at 1.33 gigahertz, 2 gigs of RAM. Now the Windows 10 Home that's installed is installed 32-bit, but this is a 64-bit based processor. But with 2 gigs of RAM, you don't need 64-bit, so having 32-bit makes it more compatible, and so that's just fine, not a problem at all. And this is an activated version of Windows, so you're not getting some fake knockoff or anything like that. So let's go ahead and back to our home page. Again, you can swipe here and you can move from the regular display for tablets over to the desktop version. You can see the screen is nice and snappy. It's real responsive. Everything moves, everything slides the way it's supposed to. There's not really much lag or anything. So I really, really like this tablet. I've spent a lot of time testing it, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's money well spent to have, a dual boot system with Android and Windows. Let's see, so probably the one last thing I want to show you really quickly is the fact that you can use this as a desktop. As I mentioned, you can hook up a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse to it and a monitor. So I'm just going to turn my monitor here real quick and show you how we do that. Move this out of the way. So what we would do is have a cable that has a mini HDMI port that runs to a full-size HDMI plugged into our TV or our monitor. So then we'll come over here and plug this in. Okay, and then we'll come over to our TV. Now this is a TV, not a monitor, but you can do this to a TV or a monitor. It doesn't matter. Turn that TV on there. So you notice all I did is plugged in, I set it on a holder, the tablet on a holder, plugged in the HDMI cable, and it comes right up to Windows. Now what I want to do is take a keyboard and a mouse. So I've got my Bluetooth mouse. I've already connected it to my tablet, but I'm just going to turn it on here, and I should be able to move the mouse around and you'll be able to see it. Okay, same thing, I've got a Logitech Bluetooth keyboard. I'm just going to turn that on. And same thing, when I hit a key, once it syncs up, you should be able to see stuff down here. So let's go to something. Yep. Works just fine. So now I can take my mouse and I can close this. And let's come over here and do works just fine. And here you've got a keyboard and a mouse and a monitor hooked up to an $80 tablet. So just going to go over the price here. If you saw the price I have on iThrifties.com, I'm selling these tablets for $125. Now that includes a tablet case, just a lightweight case that protects the tablet front screen and the back of the tablet. and shipping the device to you. And so if you pick it up, then it's the same price. But if you're ordering it, the shipping and the tablet case is all included in that price. But you don't have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to get it from China. And also, when you first hook one of these devices up, Windows is the generic install, and it takes, I'm not kidding, 4 or 5 hours to do all the updates. It's just a pain. Well, I already do that for you. So when I order these in, I take them out of the box, I check them over to make sure there's no damage, that the screen looks good, that everything works, and then I go and do all of the Windows updates, and I put it in a case, and I get it ready to resell. So that's why I've got a little bit of a markup on it. Obviously, I got to make a little bit of money on these, and the other thing to keep in mind is I only sell devices that I have thoroughly tested, that I feel like are adequate and work fine, that I would use. And so you can be assured that if you see something on my website, iThrifties.com, that it's worth buying. Even if you decide to go buy it, and wait the time and do everything yourself, at least you know that item's been tested and it should work fine. Anyway, so I appreciate you taking the time to watch the demo here, and I hope it's helped you make up your mind whether or not you want to take a chance on a Chinese tablet or not. Thanks for watching. This is iThrifties.com.